Hey all, this is NTom, and welcome to a kind of spur-of-the-moment HFC movie-com. You guys donated very generously to Spar's Kingdom Hearts 2 Randomizer run for charity, and to sweeten the deal a little bit, I thought I'd throw in movie-com offers for Detective Pikachu and the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie, and you guys passed the goal, so this is the first of those two extra special things for you all. And I have Richy with me for this one, because we like a bit of Detective Pikachu, don't we, mate?
Hell yeah! Who can't love what is easily one of the best video game movies of all time?
Is it that good? Or perhaps we are embellishing a little bit just because we like the source material so much. I'm not going to give you a chance to answer that just now. Let's let the audience see for themselves as we go through. We'll just talk about bits we like, things we could probably change, stuff we'd rather see done better, and so on. But for you guys watching this, if you need help syncing, check the video description. There's plenty of info there. We obviously can't show you the media in question due to copyright and so on, so get your own copy and sync it up with the countdown. So here we go. Detective Pikachu in 3, 2, 1. Alrighty. I actually saw this one in theatres. You know me, I'm a shut-in and whatnot, so this was kind of a big thing at the time, trying to push myself to get out there. And then I didn't see a film until Sonic came out, so there you go.
That is fair. I also saw Detective Pikachu in cinemas. I think I saw it with some friends, actually. And so, obviously, I opened today with saying it's one of the best video game movies of all time. And while, personally, I do really love this film, I think it is really good and an excellent adaptation of the source material. The reason that it's able to get away with that type of title from my eyes is because the standard of video game movies has historically been ridiculously low.
Yeah, true.
Ultimately, Detective Pikachu kind of comes as the first great video game movie after a sea of shite, basically. Obviously, there will have been the odd decent thing in there and here and everywhere, but this is sort of, I'd say, the temphole where you kind of go, oh, they've actually sort of figured out how to do this now. And that, gives me hope. I mean, it is, after all, the first live-action film based on a Nintendo property since Super Mario Bros. In 1993.
Jesus, has it been that long?
Yes.
Okay, I will say Mewtwo's texturing in this movie makes me a little bit uncomfortable.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the case with quite a lot of the Pokemon, because I can't remember, I don't know whether I can quickly get to the name of the guy who did most of the Pokemon designs, but he was actually quite well known beforehand for doing Pokemon in realistic styles, as just random art that he did, and I think they then were just like, oh, we like that, and got him on board to help design the live-action Pokemon. And while obviously there's certain Pokemon that go better than others, I think on the whole this is a ridiculously successful adaptation of these creatures into live-action, because you look at them and you go, I'm sorry, how the hell is that going to work next to a real person? But somehow, it does.
It does, yeah. And I gotta say, I was impressed with the CGI of both this and Sonic. I thought it was going to be passable, but you can tell the seams, you can see the seams and whatnot. But for the most part, it blends in quite well.
Oh, definitely. And honestly, that's partially all you can ask for with the sort of visuals of this type of film, because it does such a good job of blending that you really don't properly notice the difference between what's real and what's fake, even though it's quite obvious all the Pokemon are CG, but that's because you know that they have to be.
Now, the lad without a hat is our protagonist, Tim. I gotta be honest, I'm kind of glad they changed him up a little bit from the game, because the Tim in the game is sort of boring.
Yeah, video game Detective Pikachu Tim is bland as all hell, boring, young, white male. That is his personality.
Wow.
Whereas Justice Smith here, who plays Tim, has a bit more personality. He has sort of... Even though one of the things that gets criticised for this film somewhat is the interaction between Tim and Detective Pikachu. Obviously, we have not met yet. But honestly, I think it works. And what also makes me happy is that just randomly you have got the guy who plays Depinder here playing his friend. So that being Karen Sony. Randomness as you go.
What, like, region does this take place in? Because, like, he's not exactly going to a Pokemon professor to get a fire, a water, or a grass type, and, I don't know. I've only ever really played ROM hacks where I think a frigging ground type would be a starter.
It's true. I don't think that this is specifically set in any region, so to speak. But also, one of the concepts behind the film, and also the game actually, is what happens to the kids who don't actually go on a Pokemon journey. And because obviously they've got to exist.
Yeah.
And Tim effectively is one of those people. Like, he never had a Pokemon partner, and for various reasons that we will go into. And he is pretty rubbish at the whole trainer thing, at least right now anyway. I think it's a great way to introduce the film, because this is the sort of concept of Pokemon that we all know and love. And then we are going to move into Rhyme City, which is a very different way of interacting with Pokemon to sort of the games and stuff, which is nice because it makes things different, but it's still known enough that you can kind of settle into it all.
Oh, jeez.
The other good thing is that the Pokemon, even a small little thing like Cubone there, this game, bloody hell, it's because there's a game of this as well, obviously. This film does a good job of showing the damage that they can do.
Yeah, it's pocket monsters, not pocket pets, guys.
Exactly, and I think that's another really fun way of just making it all work together. Plus, basically, you will spend a lot of the film going, oh, I spot a Pokemon in the distance. Who's that Pokemon? And
yes.
They pick Pokemon from all across the generations, which is also really cool.
Yeah, I was happy with that. I was expecting, as I think a lot of us were, it to just be a whole Gen 1 wank fest, but no, it's like all up to Gen 7, because I don't think Sword and Shield was out at this point in time.
It was not. So Detective Pikachu was released in 2019, which would most certainly not have given enough time for them to include any Pokemon from Sword and Shield, because that was announced at the beginning of 2019 and released at the end of 2019. Coincided, roughly, in terms of releases, but obviously nowhere near enough time to introduce any of those Pokemon into this film. But that's fine, because you don't need all of them in here. Also, Lickitung is cursed, but also still cute.
Do you think they just had, like, a tongue prop for that thing, then?
Most likely, and if they didn't, it would have obviously been like a green screen prop thing that they just slathered with the liquid and then just went... Bleh.
My children... Oh.
Oh, yes. Basically red.
Basically. You know, there was talks of a sequel before this movie even came out, so who knows what that's gonna revolve around, because, not to give anything away, guys, but I think this story might resolve itself before the credits roll.
It's true, but then that doesn't mean that there aren't options for where to go. And, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, Detective Pikachu did really well at the box office when it came out, like, ludicrously so. So it grossed $144.1 million in the US and Canada, $288.9 million in other territories, for a worldwide total of $433 million against a production budget of $150 million.
Whew.
It did so well that at its debut, it basically broke records for a film based on a video game, and finished second at the weekend box office behind what was at the time Avengers Endgame.
Jesus Christ. Also, before we mention anything else, I gotta comment on the music, which is...
Oh yeah.
It's, you know, you got your typical cinematic score blended with the kind of chiptune aesthetic that you might expect from Pokemon and whatnot. So let's have a look here.
It's by Henry Jackman.
Let's see. Additional music by Evan Goldman, Kazuma Jinochi, and Jeff Morrow, I believe.
So the reason that Henry Jackman is cool is because he has done a lot of films that sort of have this mixture between high-tech music and non. So he was one of the people who helped compose Wreck-It Ralph.
Ah, yes.
He also helped with Captain America the Winter Soldier. He did Big Hero 6.
Nice.
So he's actually done quite a lot of the Captain America films. He has done the recent Jumanji films. So he's worked with the Russo brothers a lot. I think he's worked with Rob Letterman, who directed Detective Pikachu, quite a lot as well. So yeah, I love Henry Jackman's scores. They're great.
Very progressive city to allow a Pokemon to be police chief.
Not quite. It's Ken Watanabe.
Oh, of course, the legend.
I think that's another thing that this film does actually really well at, is just... This is me getting on my high horse, but hey, just natural diversity. So you've got people of just all different races and creeds, and it's just normal. And it's great.
That's the point of Rhyme City, that, like, Pokemon and people can live together in harmony. So it's not you getting on your high horse, it's you evaluating the themes of the movie.
It's true. But in sort of an industry that commonly is not quite so decent as this, I do think that this is a good thing to highlight.
Well, I mean, it's a family picture, so you kind of want to keep it as inclusive as possible.
Well, of course. Also, can I just say, Snubbull is adorable / terrifying at the same time.
Well, I mean, it's a big old pink bulldog, you know. Much larger than a regular bulldog, I would imagine. You catch a little reference to the Squirtle Squad back there when Tim was walking through the streets?
Mm-hmm.
Also, to go way back to when he was catching that Cubone, they didn't actually give notice to it until, I think, Sword and Shield, near the end game. When someone throws a Pokeball and it doesn't capture Pokemon, it gets destroyed. Now, you may not have noticed that in the games because they don't super draw attention to it. You see the Pokeball pop open, but that's it. That's why you have to keep buying more, because they're one use. Family troubles.
I know, there's always something of that sort in these sorts of family-friendly films, isn't there?
Oh, Schnobble. So let me know if your favourite Pokemon pops up, mate. I'm gonna let you know when mine does, and it's quite a prominent one as well, because I'm a basic bitch.
If it's the same one as me that I would go for, then I think we'll both go, oh my god, at the same time.
Ah, there he is!
Oh, yes, there in the background. Obviously, technically, my favourite Pokemon is Eevee and the Evolution line. I'm pretty sure Eevee is in here, I just can't quite remember where initially.
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on Psyduck, those things are unpredictable.
Very unpredictable. And particularly so in the Detective Pikachu rendering of a Psyduck.
Hey, Trico. He's just hanging out, belongs to the owner. That's the sort of thing I like about the movie. It's just Pokemon are part of just everyday life, which is kind of what we want. This is why games like Pokemon Snap, where we get to see them in a more natural setting, are so, popular, so involving.
That is partially one of the reasons why I also really, as flawed as it is, I really like the Detective Pikachu game.
I find it to be a tad bland, honestly.
I mean, it is a bit bland, yes, agreed. But I think I like the idea of what it tried to do. It's just a little bit on the simple side. So, excited for what a sequel will do when it eventually turns up. But here we have Catherine Newton as Lucy Stevens, who she's getting some decent roles as of late.
I remember in some of the reviews, people said her acting was cartoonish, which is a valid criticism. I'd say she's very much animated compared to the other actors, but, it's a film about, magical monsters. I'm okay with that.
Cartoonish in a film that, to a lot of people, comes from a cartoon. Obviously, that is not accurate. It originates from a video game that was turned into an anime, which is technically not a cartoon, but technically is. So, a bit more complicated than that, but effectively, yeah, it's a very cartoony style series, so it makes sense. I think it also helps because she is a good counterbalance to Justice Smith as Tim, because he's obviously very straight-laced. Reacts sort of how you would expect a regular human being to react around some of the craziness that is going to occur throughout this film.
Well, he's the straight man, the dry, cynical type.
Yeah, whereas Lucy is sort of that sort of more bubbly, live wire.
Isn't that the thing from Home Alone?
In relation to TVs, what's quite a cool thing is that, do you remember that trainer who turned up in the video right back towards the start, the guy who looked like Red?
Mm-hmm.
So he is actually Ryoma Takuchi, who is the Japanese dubbed voice of Tim.
Hey.
And, oh boy, that's a smelly gas.
Oh, yes. I can't actually remember when this gas actually shows up in the game, but this is pretty early. We're not even 20 minutes in.
I think it's like the second case where it becomes a thing, but you don't really see the implications of it until a relatively decent amount into the game. But that's fine, because a game has generally got a longer running time than a film, so you've got to compress these things.
Oh, what's it say on the ticket? Couldn't really catch that, sadly.
It did say that he was catching the train from Levontown.
Got Johto. Articuno versus Steelix is a bit of a big deal, don't you think?
Yeah, just a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't necessarily end well for Articuno, I don't think, but...
Ah, Sinnoh. So is wherever Tim lives near Sinnoh, then?
So yeah, Tim didn't necessarily have the best home life. Not because, his parents didn't love him or anything, but obviously his mum died and his dad buggered off.
Yeah, not through, lack of love or anything. He was just focusing on his job.
I was going to say, I love that he picks up the stapler.
Yeah. Oh, here we go. My God. I can't really think of anyone better than Ryan Reynolds to voice Pikachu, other than, maybe, I don't know, Paul Rudd.
Yeah, I could see a Paul Rudd Pikachu, but yeah, honestly, Ryan Reynolds was perfect casting for Detective Pikachu. Part of me kind of looks at it and goes, maybe they should have gone with someone with a slightly deeper voice, because I think it's Kaiji Tang who voices Detective Pikachu in the games.
I want to say Kanji Tang.
Oh, yes, probably Kanji Tang. I can't remember exactly. But either way, he's got a much more deep, gruff detective voice, whereas obviously Ryan Reynolds is a bit higher pitched. But it just works so well. This is basically kid-friendly Deadpool, and I am so here for it.
Jesus Christ.
I know. I think I would be slightly terrified of Rabid Apom as well. I mean, they're mischievous at the best of times, but this is just ridiculous.
Well, monkeys are dangerous anyway. These monkeys have, an extra hand on their tail to rip flesh from bone. That's interesting. This is a real big nitpick. Pikachu says God, but later will also say Arceus. So, I guess both of those things exist in this one world.
Also, potentially, this is just me pulling just complete crap out my ass, is that Arceus created all the Pokemon, but maybe God created all the humans in this world.
Maybe. Very trailer-specific shot.
Yeah, although, for some reason, looking at that just reminds me of the Pichu and Pichu short.
Yeah. I guess that stuff wears off after a while.
You would hope so, and Jesus Christ, Ordino is huge.
Surprisingly, Charizard, not so much. I guess they applied the actual Pokedex heights for everyone in this world. Octillery, with octopus balls, I assume, which raises several questions.
Yeah, but then we know that the Pokemon world is quite twisted when it comes to eating Pokemon. But they got Ikuitani.
Well, I think the Arcanine would get you first, mate, with the flamethrower and the biting. Oh, it's Charmander doing a walk. Everywhere you look at the movie, something fun is happening with Pokemon, which kind of makes me wish they stayed in Rhyme City, maybe 10 minutes longer.
I would be totally cool with that. To be fair, I just want to see more of this world all the time, because it just makes me happy. Because even, when you look at the, some of the signs, there's just so much work that went on to those blooming signs and making them kind of smart and punny in terms of Pokemon, and Pokemon that don't necessarily get full 3D models in the film get referenced in all those signs. Like, you can see a blooming unknown K in the background there.
I want to go to a street market where Pokemon serve food.
I think I would be down with that as well.
Noctowl fresh coffee sign. Look how fluffy Pikachu is, Jesus. That's archived audio of Rachel Lillis, aka Misty, aka Jessie, as Jigglypuff. The cafe is actually a somewhat of a hub area, if I recall correctly, in the game.
Obviously, there's a lot more made of it in there, and to be honest, it's a lot brighter of a place in the game. But there is a Ludicolo there as well, and good God, real life Ludicolo is just as terrifying as you would expect.
It's a lot hairier than I imagined.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's a pineapple.
I know what it fucking is. How do you feel about the Amnesia subplot used in the film, mate? Do you feel like it serves a good narrative purpose, or do you think it's just kind of cliched?
In terms of how the film functions, and also how exactly the same narrative works in the game it's adapted from, it works narratively. It does what it needs to do. Is it cliche? Yes, definitely. Could they perhaps have come up with a slightly better alternative? Most definitely. Is it bad? No. Like, for an Amnesia narrative, this works quite well. Just because something is cliche or a trope doesn't mean that it can't be good.
Yeah. I could use one of those, honestly. Need to find out where I lost the plot.
I'm right there with you on that one, because I've had no idea what the plot is of life for such a long time now.
At least since early 2020. See, you mentioned how bright everything was in the game. They very much went for a film noir sort of aesthetic here, and this is why I wanted more of Rhyme City, because once we go out of this neon wonderland, it just becomes a tiny bit bland visually and aesthetically. It's not bad per se. There's some great set pieces later on, but this is obviously the best setting of the movie, in my opinion.
It's quite a cool thing film-wise to go for that film noir aesthetic, because obviously film noir is most commonly associated with those sort of detective thrillers of the 40s and 50s and so on. So it's very in keeping with the type of story that Detective Pikachu wants to tell, even if it's, going for a much more kid-friendly version of that.
Yeah, we got the Pokemon trading card game. We got Pikachu bedspread, very awkward. You got me, Ryan Reynolds Kachu. I love him. Isn't that roughly about the time that kids are meant to go out and become trainers?
Hmm.
Oh, Joltik.
I like Joltik's just ridiculously cute, both in the game and here. Like, oh my god.
Gotta make sure you're fresh before you go detectiving. Oh, for God's sake.
To be fair, I think if I was going to go on a detective hunt of something, my room would probably end up looking similarly. Because whenever I try and organise anything, like sometimes you just end up with sheets of paper all over the floor.
Also, he said Frenchman, not Colossian. Why did this film do well again? It deserved to fail. It's not adhering to the Pokemon world sensibilities.
It's adhering to most of it.
Oh, fine.
And also, just because Kalos exists doesn't mean that France doesn't also exist.
Yeah, I guess, like, the whole Pokemon world could just be a series of, like, many, many islands and part of the world.
It doesn't mean that there's not a France with Pokemon in it. Like, I think that's probably one of the most exciting things about the Pokemon world in general, is that you technically could just go anywhere and it'd just work.
I'm not Ash, okay? I don't have freakish strength. How heavy is Pikachu, actually? I gotta look this up. Oh.
You should do. Also, the Pokemon theme song!
Nah, it's like a fucking Pavlovian response from me.
I remember seeing this in the cinema, I just ear to ear grin hearing that song.
He is usually £13.2, so he's a light frigger.
Yeah, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, I don't know what Tim was complaining about, really. Legendary British character actor Bill Nighy here giving his best, I don't know, CEO take, I guess.
I mean, Bill Nighy's just awesome, and to be honest, is clearly just having so much fun.
Yeah, this is just a break for him, really, with his Ditto partner and whatnot.
I know. I think what's really cool is that I do believe that the reason that Bill Nighy took the film is, I want to say it's because of like one of his kids, like one of his grandkids or whatever. We're just like, oh my god, and so he did it for them. It's always cute when actors do films for their loved ones.
Yeah, like obviously a famous example is Raul Julia taking the role of M. Bison in the Street Fighter movie.
So yeah, so that just makes me happy. And then you also have there Chris Gere as Roger Clifford.
Howard's son.
Chris Gere's not been in necessarily too much, but he has done a decent amount of TV in the UK. And actually, to be fair, there's quite a lot of UK people involved in this. I don't know whether it was... Where was it shot? Let me have a look. Oh yeah, so it was partially filmed in London and Denver.
I can kind of see the London aesthetic, like some buildings kind of resemble the Shard.
There's a few other bits. So some filming took place at Shepperton Studios, some at Warner Brothers Studios, some at Minley Woods in Hampshire, rural areas of Colorado, bits of Scotland, and they also used the Chatham Historic Dockyard in Kent.
Neat. Yeah, for as much as the film teases it, this whole relationship thing doesn't really go anywhere, which I guess is a refreshing take for that sort of relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to just have two characters of the opposite sex who can just sort of be friendly. Obviously, there is the implications that there may or may not eventually be a relationship, but there's no need to push that as the main thoroughfare of the film. This is a film about Tim and Detective Pikachu trying to find his dad.
Yeah.
That's what the film is, and that's what it works with.
She's just playing a detective story archetype anyway, the dame. It's a very iconic silhouette, Pikachu on a trainer's shoulder, as I mentioned. Arguably the most iconic scene of the movie coming up now.
Yes, also an actual laugh out loud moment that I don't think anybody was expecting.
Yeah, it's pretty good. More stuff like this, I feel, would have made the script a bit tighter.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
He has basketball shoulder textures.
I know, it's terrifying, but so perfect.
I don't want you to think I think like the texturing on the CGI work is bad, by the way. It's just in the case of Mewtwo, I see a very anthropomorphic sort of cat with, a skin texture, and I'm not a super big fan of those hairless cats to begin with, so...
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of skinless cats. Well, furless cats, of course.
Jesus Christ, Richy, that's nightmare-inducing.
Very nightmare-inducing. I'm not a fan of furless cats either, because they just don't necessarily look as cute to me, which makes me sad, because all animals are cute, but yeah.
Tim is a terrible bad cop.
Absolutely the worst.
You notice that Pikachu has the white belly fur, kind of indicative of his first chubby design, and it kind of disappeared later on.
Yeah, I do find that hilarious that Pikachu obviously started off rather rotund, and then as the generations progressed, kept losing weight.
Well, he lost the ketchup addiction, so that's a lot of sugar out of his diet right away. Personally, this is Mr. Mime's own fault for putting it in his room in the first place. This is a children's movie, by the way. Oh yeah, you're laughing. You're laughing, eh? Let's see how you're laughing when I light up this fucking match. Yeah. I could just watch this all day, really, so I'm not saying much.
I mean, really, that's just the way to go with this scene, and
Oh my god. I just love that cut, it's amazing.
it's so well done. Like, it.
We never see him again, so, yeah.
Dubstep Loud Dread.
Yep.
I didn't know how much I wanted this.
Oh, that Gengar is, they're not as cute as the games, let's put it that way.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I would suspect that really that is what you would expect a Gengar to look like. They are supposed to be terrifying ghost demons.
Very nice, very nice. Would that be Rapid Spin or Hydro Pump, do you think?
I don't know. You see, the one flaw with non-turn-based battles is that you would actually be able to, combine moves, because that looked very much like a rapid spin and a water gun at the same time. But obviously, they've got signs up that sort of shouting out when things are happening. But yeah, so this right here is Sebastian, who is played by Omar Chaparro. He's not really necessarily done a huge amount. He's mostly voiced things in Spanish dubs. So he is actually the Spanish dub voice for Syndrome in The Incredibles, and also Poe in all three Kung Fu Panda films.
There you go.
And the DJ who was playing was Diplo, who I believe was involved in something or other. Either way, yeah, he's an actual DJ, so there's that one.
Yeah, Gengar's pretty fast and he can hit hard, so I can see him winning that fight.
Oh yeah, also, oh my god, Charizard!
More scaly than I'd imagined, but I'm pretty fine with this interpretation.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've noticed that artillery features a lot in this movie. I've seen them at least 3 times so far.
So one of the things that it's quite easy to notice is that they have a set pool of Pokemon. I don't know whether there's an official number somewhere. I'm sure it exists, of how many Pokemon they have, and they do just repeat them throughout in various locations. Obviously, they were only ever going to have so much time to do so many models to such a quality.
Yeah.
Of course, they were going to use them. Like, obviously, we've already seen multiple Charmanders, Tricos, Panchams, Pangoros. We've seen Charizards before. It makes sense.
I mean, like we mentioned, it goes across the first 7 generations, so that's a great trailer moment, by the way. The fact it goes across all those generations, I don't really mind that there's repeats per se, because that representation is so big to begin with. And of course you'd see multiple of these things in one big city. It's not like a lot of them are rare.
And also, when you take into consideration that, Pikachu can't use any of his moves, in each region in Pokemon, you have a limited pool of Pokemon that exist in that region. So it would also make sense.
Yeah, he's intimidating, but one good Thunderbolt and that Charizard will be lying down quicker than you can say snooze.
I think a Rock Blast would probably do slightly better, or any other rock move, because obviously double weakness. But yeah, good old Thunderbolt will put it down. Just unfortunately, Pikachu can't really do that right now.
Tim, this is very unsportsmanlike.
Very unsportsmanlike, but then so is using drugs to turn your Pokemon into a killing machine.
When you see Pokemon like this in a more realistic setting, you start to think of the ramifications of Flamethrower, just burning a Pokemon alive and then it going to a Pokemon Center to get healed. Do they do that for humans in this world as well? Just pop them on the machine?
God knows, but that's definitely not good.
No, the Ribena mist!
It's about to get a little bit crazy in here.
Drop the beat.
It's just so silly. I love it.
Yeah, slacking. Second time seeing him, second time seeing Lickitung.
There's a Graveler.
Yeah. I've always been a big fan of Graveler. Okay, the guy from this angle looks like Jimmy Fallon.
He does actually, doesn't he?
My mind goes to strange places when doing these commentaries. Oh my god. No, Pikachu! Gotcha. Yeah, I'm not done yet. Oh my god. Well, I hope it's around level 20, or... Oh, there we go. I was just waiting to be kicked. That Charizard is fucking dead if that flame goes out.
It is, but obviously it did only just get sort of flushed out. Its flame was still above the water.
He is so fucking tired of this Pokemon bullshit. Oh, if only he could hear the sweet, dulcet tones of Ryan Reynolds, then he'd believe.
I know. I mean, to be fair, can just everybody not be voiced by Ryan Reynolds? Like, I mean, I'd be fine with that.
If I woke up and got on call and you were talking to me with Ryan Reynolds' voice, I would fucking have a mental breakdown.
I'm sure you would, but that's because you would not expect me to be sounding like Ryan Reynolds. I think I would probably have a bit of a freak out moment too if you started speaking with Ryan Reynolds' voice. But that's not to say that I would necessarily be mad, because Ryan Reynolds has an amazing voice.
Oh, I see. A much better replacement, I guess. Well, you still have to do all my tics and mannerisms, so enjoy that.
Oh, that'd be fine. I mean, I'm friends with you for a reason.
What reason is that?
I'll get back to you.
Okay, let's enjoy the poignancy of the scene, the mise en scène. Look, alright, I did media studies for like 1 year. I'm not qualified to comment on this shit.
I am, because I did my full A level in media studies.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, got an A star as well, actually. Quite proud of that. Yeah, it's just a very poignant scene, and just a really, I suppose, realistic talk about relationships and feelings. And, I mean, for a film which features, talking animal critters, like...
Can we read no Pokemon to that, please?
Sure. Although, really, it would be battling animal critters, and I think Peter might want to get involved. But
well, Batmon doesn't really sound that kosher.
That's true. But it's a really touching moment, this. And, like, whenever I see people say that they didn't really believe in the sort of chemistry between Ryan Reynolds and Justice Smith, I kind of point them to this scene and just go, you don't think there's any sort of chemistry going on here, like, or that there's any good acting, so to speak? Like, this is great stuff, and it's touching too.
Yeah, I kind of second that opinion. I don't think Justice Smith is the greatest protag in the history of protags, but
well, yes,
one, that's sometimes down to the writing. And two, while it may be a tad forced in some areas, I do think there is chemistry, no matter how light, between him and Ryan Reynolds' character. I feel, again, with a tighter script, more time in Rhyme City, just going around and, solving things in a casual manner, and then going on to the big mystery, it would have landed a bit more smoothly. But as it is, for the level of pathos they're trying to put across, I feel it lands as well as it needed to. God bless his little hat.
I know, that hat is just perfection.
Ah, the car of convenience. Okay.
And that is Miss Norman, who is performed by Suki Waterhouse, who is an English model, actress, and singer.
Well, triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
Ah, the deities of time, space, and I guess all there.
Well, there's the EV.
I can't help but laugh at this scene.
I mean, it's true because it's Bill Nighy sitting in front of 3 giant Pokemon statues with Flareon walking about, i.e. the most pointless evolution, as fluffy and cute as it looks.
Well, I mean, yeah, its move pool is quite terrible, but he said the best version of themselves, which is what makes me laugh. I guess those things on the table are a water stone, etc.
I would think so, yes.
Trailer line.
Oh, there's a Sunstone.
That's basically 1-to-1 with the game, yeah. Chaos Emerald in that thing, I think.
Just because you got Sonic on the brain, because you know it's coming up soon.
Yeah, he's a little bitch like that. Everyone in the world loves Pokemon, Roger. Can't stand him. More of a Digimon guy.
I mean, I still find that hilarious that back in the 90s/early noughties, for most kids, you were either a Pokemon kid or a Digimon kid. Obviously, I was one of the weirdos who was both. But that just means that, I'm a more well-rounded human being, that I'm open to different realms of the same coin.
If you say so, mate. I do remember liking Pokemon a lot, and I let the Digimon infection seep in, and I was like, no, I don't like Digimon, I only watched an episode or two, but then it happened. Oh my god. Yeah, someone threw a car at me, is what happened after that. Yeah, very carefully hiding his face there.
I know. I mean, it's like, they want there to be some massive mystery about who Harry is. I mean, I'm going to be honest. If there is one twist that you should pretty much see coming a mile away, it's that one. There is obviously another twist in the film, because you don't have a detective film without twists. Which I would say is also technically very predictable, but it's one of those twists where you look at it and you go, that's so predictable, would they actually go for it? And you can second guess yourself in it, which is actually what I did the first time. I looked and thought, no, they wouldn't do that, would they? I mean, I'm fine if they do, but also I'm fine if they don't. They did, but that is also fine.
So Mewtwo took Tim's dad, it seems.
Yes.
Yep. Pikachu's just the wingman, really. Ironic, because he doesn't have any wings.
Oh, there's slacking again. Suitably sleeping.
Well, that's what he does. He's slacking off. Good, Tim. Smooth. Jesus. The next location to scout.
And also home to a really bloody epic set piece.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Bit gross, but also not necessarily surprising. I mean, that's one area of Pokemon that we never really see, whereas we do in Digimon.
Charizard shits would be epic.
Oh god, that'd be horrifying.
There's that little sting in the music again. I like it, I like it. That car is tiny.
It is, but also I love that Pikachu is in a baby seat. It's perfection.
I mean, it's wearing a hat, for God's sake. Oh, God. What a spoilt brat.
I know. I mean, to be honest, that just reminds me of Buttons, my sister's cat. He's become a right diva.
Oh, yeah.
He will actively come upstairs to get you to go and open the patio door, even though he's got a perfectly good cat flap.
Honestly.
He will also go to my dad and my sister, who are currently in the cabin down the bottom of the garden, to get them to come out, to come and open the patio door to let him back in, even though he's got a perfectly good cat flap. He's also started this whole thing where you put down his dinner, and he's just like, yeah, I'm not really that bothered, until you go and put it right down in front of him, and he's just like, oh, okay, I'll eat it now.
Enjoyed the Spoink bobblehead on the dashboard.
Fair. I mean, Spoink bobblehead. Who doesn't want one?
I'm not saying Buttons isn't adorable and worthy of attention, Richie, but we are covering a movie here.
It's true. I mean, I just love my nephew Kitty, so...
Virulent biological agents used in this area.
That is a good shot.
Yeah, nice little bit of camera trickery. She's kind of dressed like a Pokemon Go player.
She is. I wonder whether that sort of either had influence one way or the other. I don't really know.
Yeah, because I want to say Go was big around this time. It was definitely earlier than this, but I mean, there's peaks and troughs.
Yeah, well, so Pokemon Go came out 2016. So obviously that was about 3 years before the film came out, and if you consider sort of the time for filming, filming took place in principal production began in 2018, and principal photography concluded in 2018. So yes, there is every possibility that her outfit was inspired by the Pokemon Go outfits.
There you go. Now, we have actually seen a Greninja on the street before, so it's not the first time seeing them. This is the first time seeing Torterra, I want to say.
Yes, this is the first time seeing Torterra, and yeah, we saw Greninja out on the street. It was mostly from the back.
Oh, yeah.
It was at one of the stalls.
Very interesting that this whole growth thing is going on, considering what the main gimmick for Sword and Shield would turn out to be. I'm evil. We dreamed of creating the world's most epic Pokemon, and we succeeded.
They were effectively going to get that sort of speech in a minute.
I mean, I say the whole Mewtwo skin texture makes me uncomfortable, but the model is still really good, and I think they use him to good effect in this film.
Oh god, yeah. I mean, like, I think the whole thing with live action Pokemon is that there are always going to be some who made you feel a little bit uncomfortable just because of the nature of what they are. Like, I mean, I know a bunch of people were just like, I'm sorry, Jigglypuff with hair? What? Because I think they were expecting, a pure skin creature, but that would have been even more terrifying.
Well, the thing is with like the anime and the games and whatnot, they don't usually give them like fully detailed textures, so you're just led to assume that like, oh, that must just be a clear sort of thing, not like fur covered or anything.
Yeah, this film does love a hologram, slightly to its detriment, I do feel, because you don't really necessarily do any detective work.
Um,
But that's fine.
Do you remember a little game called Detroit Become Human?
I mean, that is true, but there was actual detective work that took place in there rather than purely looking at holograms.
What? They're gathering research. This is detectiving.
True. Also, random Rita Ora.
Okay.
And for those of you who don't know, Rita Ora is a singer and music performer in mostly in the UK and the US.
It shows.
Yeah, she's slightly recently fallen out of favour for some poor decisions related to the pandemic.
Keep that in mind. Very important. This is actually very similar to how Mewtwo Strikes Back starts, actually.
Very much so. I think that was probably the main inspiration.
I didn't see a body on the way in, so they must have cleared up.
Well, you would have assumed that they would have at least cleared up the bodies. Obviously, you can't save the bloomin' building. Just abandon some of the Pokemon in here, mind, but still.
Yeah, there you go.
So, what this obviously states is one, Kanto exists here, so that would mean that yes, France and Kalos both exist, but also that this is meant to be the same Mewtwo as the anime.
It's funny because Mewtwo Strikes Back is actually one of the only movies that is canon to the anime itself, because like Mewtwo escaping is shown in an actual episode. And obviously we have the revelation that, Harry was hired to capture Mewtwo, so good luck with that, with your only Pokemon being a Pikachu, but,
Yeah, I mean, I would be slightly concerned trying to, chase down a Mewtwo with only a Pikachu, unless, said Pikachu was like level 100.
Yeah.
Yep, no, that's gross.
This is someone's fetish.
I'm sure it is someone's fetish, but it's disgusting.
Nah. Greninja got a lot of love in this movie with like a set piece like this.
To be fair, Greninja is one of the most interesting Pokemon designs of recent generations. A whole ninja frog is just a really cool idea, especially how they did it as well.
It's not particularly original, but yeah, it is a good design. If I want to get really nitpicky, the upcoming scene is a bit of a plot hole question mark, but I don't know. Maybe I'll let it pass. Maybe I'll let it slide.
Well, let's discuss it once it takes place, because I'm not necessarily sure I would call it a plot hole.
Psychic attack knocks away dark types who are immune to psychic attacks.
Oh, fair.
To be fair, they weren't shown taking damage. It just knocked them away with like the force of the shockwave.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that probably that's it more than anything.
It's a nitpick. I'm not making a serious criticism of it. Now, this is interesting because when the trailer first came out, a lot of people assumed this was Mewtwo doing this.
Yes, I mean, because when you look at it, really what this most reminds me of, and I'm sure it reminds most people as well of, is things like Inception and some of the scenes in Doctor Strange.
Yep.
It's that whole mind-melding landscape just twisting everywhere, not where you would expect it to go. So you would think that this was a psychic attack, but also I love that just random, how could you not believe in climate change?
Yeah, don't really make sense given this isn't the real world, but whatever.
It doesn't, but it hits, and I appreciate it.
When Ryan Reynolds says it, I believe it, you know? I didn't believe in climate change up until he said it, but now I do.
If I recall correctly, that's quite cool, is that I think that Justice Smith and Catherine Newton actually did quite a lot of their own scenes.
Uh-huh.
Not their own scenes, their own stunts in the film. Obviously, they did their own scenes.
What a concept for an actor.
But yeah, I think they did a lot of their own stunts, which is always quite cool when you get actors who are, one, able to do it, two, willing to do it, and three, you're allowed to do it.
Whee! Oof, that would have hurt either way.
So, yes, this is the Torterra Garden.
It's fucking epic, mate. Look at this shit.
I mean, this is even cooler when you're actually in a theatre, because you're just like, Jesus Christ.
It does look amazing on the big screen.
And something that's also quite cool is that this film is actually shot on film, like traditional film.
Yeah, it looks good. It's probably what helps the CGI to blend so well, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, so John Matheson, who's the film cinematographer, has said that the use of traditional film helps make everything look more realistic, which, yeah, definitely.
So yeah, how can you look at that and not think of, like, Dynamax and so on?
Oh, God, yeah.
It was only a tiny rock, come on.
I love this film. I will defend it for a lot of things. This perhaps is not necessarily one of them.
It's a little bit contrived.
That basically just reminded me of the goofy plonk in Kingdom Hearts 2. You're just like,
oh no.
Okay, that was a choice.
Tim's like, they'll pay for this.
Yeah. It makes sense in what they want the story to do and where the story needs to go. I think that they just perhaps needed to make the cause of Pikachu's grievous injury a little bit more actually notably, seemingly fatal, rather than a plump. But this is still a sad moment. Also, Bulbasaur saving the day, like the 001 that he is.
Yeah, he's number one for a reason, mate. I mean, if you can get past that little contrivance, like Richie said, it is a good scene, and I think it does have a good payoff as well.
Oh, without a doubt. It's something that can happen a lot in any storytelling, really. I mean, I'm sure there are people who would say probably the same thing about certain moments in my book. And they say it all the time about loads of different things as well, is that sometimes plot comes before logic in certain moments. And sometimes, as writers, naturally, you try and force things to happen so that you can get to the places where you want to be. And sometimes that doesn't always necessarily work and isn't always the best option for a story. But that said, it's usually possible to dig yourself out and fix up certain things as long as you just sort of work hard enough to make those bits make sense. And I always forget the name of this Pokemon, but I do believe that it is a Morlul.
Yes, yeah.
It's one of those ridiculous things of, I feel bad that after Gen 4, I start to get really hazy in terms of remembering every single Pokemon name. I think it's just by virtue of there being so many at this point, and your brain can only contain so many names at once.
Well, I mean, you know, we're adults now. We gotta do taxes and shit. I gotta remember more things than just, like, Pikachuanite and Charizardatron, okay?
Exactly. But on the plus side, at least you look at these things and you just go, that's exactly what that would look like in real life. That's amazing.
This looks just like a dying Pikachu would. Hello there. I realised Mewtwo actually had this power, but I guess it makes sense.
I mean, that is something that this film does a reasonable amount, is give Mewtwo powers that I don't think anybody quite realised that Mewtwo had. But then also, I'm not technically that mad because there aren't a number of healing moves that Pokemon use.
Yeah.
So, and Mewtwo can, as far as I am aware, learn quite a lot of moves. So it's not outside of the realms of possibility that it was just one of those in a animation that we perhaps weren't expecting.
Very interesting creative decision to have Mewtwo speak in both a male and a female voice.
I think it's one that works, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, when I think of Mewtwo, I will always think of Mewtwo's voice in the first movie, Mewtwo Strikes Back, because that is what nostalgia tells me Mewtwo should sound like. Obviously, in the fullness of time, there has been Mewtwo voiced by a woman, and for a Pokemon that is obviously man-made and is technically genderless, and also meant to be this psychic powerhouse, makes sense that it would be this sort of distorted voice. And also, yeah, we just helped Mewtwo get kidnapped. Oops. This is also a little bit contrived, because this is your standard end of act to the Dream Team split up for one reason or another.
This is what I was talking about, when the script could have been a bit tighter.
It's like, I'm not mad at it.
No, not at all.
I think sort of it's something that really a lot of people just need to get to grips with, I suppose, in terms of dealing with any sort of media, is something might not necessarily be perfect, or it might not have necessarily been the way that it theoretically should have been done to be the best it could possibly be. But that doesn't mean that it's bad and should be lambasted for it. Politely criticised, sure, but it doesn't make it the worst thing ever.
Well, I barely recognised it, honestly, because it doesn't last for very long overall.
Exactly, so I think it's just, yeah, one of the things. Also, love the inflatable Pokemon. Also, those Snorlax costumes are impeccable.
Oh, bless. I will say, I'm glad the split up wasn't because they were, like, mad at each other or anything. It's more that Pikachu is despondent about revelations and so on. So I feel that's what makes it easier to swallow overall.
Oh, without a doubt.
Love that Blastoise.
Also, to be fair, it does lead to one of the most amazing moments in this film.
Well then.
Oh,
Just got a few good chuckles in the theatre.
this was everything I needed.
So I guess the anime is canon in the world of Detective Pikachu.
Well, I mean, at least the theme song is, because obviously we heard the music of it on the TV show, so...
I say canon, it's in part of the universe of Detective Pikachu.
Yes, it is music that would be considered diegetic if we were hearing it right now.
I wasn't aware those were solid.
I mean, I wasn't either, but then I suppose it makes sense.
Different universe, different types of Pokemon, whatever. Also, Mewtwo, psychic attacks against Doctor... Stop it, Tom, stop it. None of this stuff affects the movie's quality for me at all. I'm just saying I notice it, I bring it up, I discard it. So, why are you connected to Cerebro, sir?
And, yes, this is the twist that Bill Nye was the bad guy all along.
Wait a minute! British man Evil?
Well, not just British man, but well-known British acting icon in a film that you perhaps wouldn't commonly think he would be associated
no.
with is the bad guy. That's sort of what I was saying earlier. It's a twist that, on the face of it, you look at and go, that's entirely predictable because of precisely those reasons. But it's so predictable that actually you look at it and go, I wouldn't be surprised if they sort of flipped the scripts on us and just had him there as kindly old man. So it's sort of a triple bluff in a way.
Why did he have to talk with mouth? Why couldn't he talk with mind? Teeth! Teeth!
It is a bit disconcerting, but also it doesn't look wrong. It just looks... we're not used to it.
It's imposing is what it is.
Yeah, and also it would make sense for a human who has taken over the mind of a Pokemon to speak using his mouth.
That man was not even a character in this movie. Ah. I guess he's just not gonna kill him?
To be fair, he doesn't think that Tim's really that much of a threat. I mean, he's not particularly, he's just a kid.
Holy shit, is that Pokemon speaking English? Oh, this sounds like Pokemon Burst, and I'm not a fan of that.
It sort of makes me think of Mystery Dungeon, and I am totally okay with that.
Sorry, I was just looking up info on the Burst. Yeah, it's all about like fusion and whatnot. But Mystery Dungeon was them turning into Pokemon.
True. I mean, it's slightly different because obviously it's not merging, but it's still humans turning into Pokemon, which is quite fun. I mean, this is also one of those things of, okay, this is not a power I thought Mewtwo had, but okay, sure, I'll go with it.
Well, I mean, he's just shifting the soul, which I guess you could say is someone's personality or mind, into a different vessel.
I would not want to get melded with a Psyduck.
Well, I mean, there could be worse. Imagine if you get turned to a Metapod.
Very true. That would be particularly disconcerting. I mean, at least that person got turned into a Braviary. I mean, that's quite cool.
I was focusing on the Machamp, personally. It was like, dude, this is actually an upgrade if you think about it. Isn't it? Little hand says it's time to rock and roll. That's a very London-esque shot there.
Very much so.
Oh, I have my powers now. Whee!
I mean, it would have made for a very disappointing finale if Pikachu didn't have any of his electric powers throughout the entirety of the film.
And to be fair, I'm pretty sure he uses it at the end of the game as well.
I believe so, yes.
I would have liked more battles, honestly, but that's just kind of like me. I like a bit of rising action.
When one of your criticisms of a film is, I just want more of it, it's not necessarily going too far wrong.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah, that's not a positive sign.
If I kill the old man... No, Tim, you just have to remove the thing. Wait a minute!
I know!
Batman was perhaps not bad.
Uh-huh. Which is actually a fun twist for anybody, who paid a bit more attention to the game than perhaps I did. Because in the game, Roger is actually the villain, and that is terrifying. But also, this makes way for a really cool sequence, because
Yeah.
you don't really ever see Ditto in a threatening context.
No.
Despite the fact that when you actually think about what Ditto can do, hell yeah, it would be terrifying.
Well, think about it. It's very appropriate for a guy who, wants to take control of Mewtwo to have a failed Mew clone as his partner.
Exactly.
That's about the extent of that.
Yeah.
Feels like a mandate more than anything.
I know. Well, that's what the film does whenever it gets too close to romantic relationships.
Ew. Too hetero for me. Uh-oh. Be very careful. A tiny rock could come from anywhere at any time.
It very much could do. Also, I'm pretty sure I just spotted the gherkin in that last scene.
Really?
So, yeah.
This was not good for my fear of heights. Gotta tell you.
No.
Yeah. Oh, ironic. Oh, I've got just enough PP left to use Judgment.
I mean, Volt Tackle is a seriously good move, just a
Damn.
little bit dangerous.
Fucking launch that bitch. Oh, I love that shot.
But also, it makes perfect sense because I'm pretty sure after Volt Tackle, Pikachu gets recoil, so.
Oh, Jesus, please don't do that so near to the ledge. Okay, so I guess that just explains it.
It does, yes. That's why that Ditto was as ridiculously powerful as it is, and oh dear, Roger.
I see for a usual Pokemon it would make it, crazy, but for Ditto it can't control its transforming.
Yep, which led to that absolutely thoroughly terrifying moment of it just morphing into everything under the sun. I mean, it can, it just needs to be much higher level.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
You beat up an old man, Tim. There's no reason to look so badass. Whee! Oh, by God, it's over.
Although not quite, because, Mewtwo is pretty powerful and badass.
Kind of similar to Mewtwo, fixing stuff at the end of the first movie, although there he just wiped everyone's memories.
Totally okay with both. It's quite cool. Also, I've just had a thought. Whoever got, body swapped with the Snorlaxes probably didn't really remember much, because they were probably asleep for most of it.
Yeah, true.
There are so many Sneasels.
Yeah, I just can't them all. It's like fucking Where's Wally? And I would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you meddling kids and your really, really marketable Pokemon. This is a very corny ending, but in an endearing sort of way.
What else would you expect from this type of film?
Nothing, Richie. Nothing less.
So yeah, the guy who originally was the villain in the game turns out to not be so bad a guy.
It sort of ends on a romantic note.
It ends with the hope of possibility.
There are a few minutes left and we haven't revealed the main twist. What? I'm gonna be real, I figured this out in the game and it didn't even reveal anything in the game.
Yeah.
Which is odd because there's a sequel coming out.
I mean, apparently the sequel is going to end completely differently to how, obviously the film ends, which, I mean, I'm sorry, but bloody hell, it could not be more obvious in both situations that Ryan Reynolds is Tim's dad.
Well, not Ryan Reynolds himself, but...
You know what I mean. Detective Pikachu is Tim's dad.
His name's not Detective Pikachu, it's Harry Goodman.
I don't care.
It has been etched. Whoa. He's evolving!
Not quite, but...
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I just wish we spent more time in Rhyme City, because I think it's a really nice looking area.
I mean, to be honest, I just wanted to spend just more time in general with this film, because I just loved the world of it, and... there's Ryan Reynolds.
He looks cool with glasses.
He does, I know. Really, that's my main thing, is that I just want more, because this made me so happy. And I think after such a long time of bad to thoroughly mediocre video game films, it's really nice to have one that is really enjoyable. Like, actually, you look at it and you go, no, that's good. It has its problems, don't get me wrong, but it works, and it's a kind of near perfect adaptation, really, of the source material into a live action context.
I think it's better than the source material, honestly.
Well, I mean, more the world of Pokemon into live action rather than Detective Pikachu purely as the game into the film. And, I mean, that's just such an awesome thing to experience, because it could have gone so badly wrong. And it didn't. And it's good. and it performed really well, and that just makes me really insanely happy.
Every so often you get, like, a project that probably deservedly in some respects deserves the cynicism put towards it, but to have it, like, pay off in a good way is always very gratifying, and the same happened to Sonic, I would say to a greater degree, honestly.
I would debate you on that one, but...
Well, that's for next time, but yeah, I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu as a film. Like I said, my only criticisms would be that I feel the script could be tighter. I would like, a lot more Rhyme City antics and so on. Visually, I think the CGI is fantastic. Even with my nitpicks about, like, certain textures on Pokemon, I feel they're still, like, really well designed. They're realistic enough while still remaining faithful to the base designs. The score is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Casting is pretty pitch perfect. Like, I like Tim. Lucy's fine. Bill Nighy's character is, good enough. Love this Sugimori-esque art.
Well, no, I think this is actually Ken Sugimori art. Like,
not 100% sure about that, but I guess people can correct us on it, and we'll just see later. But yeah, as a kid's film, it's really good and definitely one of the best video game adaptations. I just would have liked a little bit more, but I liked what was there. So, as Richy said, is that really a complaint if you want more of a good thing?
Yeah, and to be honest, like, it's so much fun, and that's just wonderful. Like, I love it.
So, yeah, guys, this was our commentary for Detective Pikachu. We hope you enjoyed it, and thank you once again for donating to unlock this in Spar's KH2 Randomizer run. Coming up tomorrow should be our commentary for the live-action Sonic movie, so we'll see you then. Bye-bye.